Here.
Senator Nowinski. Here. Senator O'Brady.
Here.
Senator Stillwell. Senator Stillwell.
Proxy.
Oh, proxy, perfect. Senator O'Caro. Here. Senator Christensen. Here. Senator Kinton. Senator Kinton. No? Okay. Senator Foxfischel. Here. Senator Chaisey. Here. Senator Sajal.
Here.
Senator Duff.
Here.
Okay. Senator Garden. Senator Sampson. Senator Moyne.
Here.
Senator Mitchell. Here. Senator Hoysa. Here. Senator Roebuck. Here. Senator Albright. Here. Senator Redinas. Here. I'm here. President Cronin. Vice President Omar. Awesome. So now we will start with presentation. There's no presentation. Awesome. Yep, we will go into open forum. Is there anyone here for open forum?
Hello. Hi, everyone. For folks who have not met or maybe don't remember me, my name is Emmy. I'm the Interim Assistant Director for RSO's Leadership and Non-Traditional Students. So I'm actually here to talk about recognition coming up, so let's keep that one there. And I brought some handouts. Some of you may have heard that recognition for next year for RSOs is going to be opening early. That is true. So we are actually opening RSO recognition on April 15th this year, which is going to be not next Monday, but the Monday afterwards. Recognition will stay open through September 30th. So it's the same closing time as last year, but we're opening it earlier. The reason that we're opening recognition earlier is that so groups who have student leaders who are graduating have the chance to transition to the new leaders and get them on Engage and get them to be able to submit the recognition request before they graduate and leave. In the past, what has happened is when we wait till September to open recognition, those students have already graduated and left, and then the new students aren't able to get into the Engage page or submit a recognition request, and then those groups aren't able to be recognized. So we're hoping to kind of alleviate that problem this year by opening recognition early. So this information is now also available online. But please spread the word to any of the students that you're working with to let them know. We will be tabling for the RSO office in down on Mada over the next couple weeks as well to help answer questions. If you're having trouble with Engage, we're there to help provide assistance as well. But we're trying to shift to this earlier time frame so that way we can help to kind of catch some of those issues earlier on. The process is going to be fairly straightforward. So the first step I've got on there is just preparing for recognition. So the information that groups will need in order to be able to request to be recognized is on there. The recognition request itself is mostly about updating information and verifying the information as far as like your roster, who your advisor is, making sure your constitution's updated. Previous years we've used an RSO handbook quiz. It's still there, but now it's built into that recognition request. So it's just a very streamlined process. We will be having inaugurations in the fall, so the main thing is to get that recognition request in before heading off for whatever summer adventures there are. So any questions as I talk about recognition?
Senator Hoysa?
Are you going to be emailing with the current president's vice president's office when they go?
Yes, they got an email about an hour ago.
Awesome.
So, yep, and it's also been shared on our social media as well as on Engage, and it's on the website too. So,
Thank you.
yeah, and we'll have posters going up shortly as well.
Any other questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing no more, thank you so much for coming here today. Is there anyone else here for open forum? Oh, go ahead.
This is hot off the press. Actually, it's still working. There was a human malfunction though. It said print on both sides of the page. It printed one side of the page, so you can take it page 1 and page 2 outside down. Russ Life and I have been working for probably about 10 months with the Charter and Spectrum to try to get a new channel lineup. And we finally got everything all set today. And that change is going to actually happen for residence hall senators at 3 o'clock in the morning. So they're going to be adding, we're going to be adding 105 channels, including several HBO Showtime. So, which is pretty exciting. Sports channels and all this other stuff. It will require all the residents to rescan the TVs in order to make those channels work. And the channel numbering is kind of weird because rather than real numbers, 1.8. So that's why we have a channel guide that we're going to be distributing to the residents. All that communication should be sent out today. And the change is going to happen tomorrow. Pretty excited about that. Any questions?
Questions, Senator Medina?
So for next year, because I don't know residential halls, do you think you guys could like have like a printed like list of channels to have for the fall semester and all the learners?
Yep. Hopefully that happens.
Senator Mara?
So, I just know that my first year this year, I saw this being advertised a lot, but this year I haven't seen it being advertised as much. Was there just something different this year, or do you plan on advertising it more for the students on campus?
We've been kind of holding back because we've kind of been in a little standoff with Charter. We signed a new contract with Charter on July 1st for extended TV service, but they've been going back and forth with the legal, the actual contract. So that's been going on for like 8 or 10 months. And once that contract is finally signed by both sides, since then they've ordered the equipment and we've been asking them for a new channel lineup. So we haven't been really promoting it, anticipating that there's going to be a lot of channels, but we weren't exactly sure which ones. So we finally got that. We're going to be setting that up tomorrow morning and then we'll start the website. Also, there's Preview, where you can watch not only live TV, but also on-demand programs on your cell phones, on tablets, through a browser that you can use. That doesn't have all the channels yet, but they are continued ads, and there's on-demand programs as well.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing no more questions, thank you so much. Thank you. Is there anyone else here for open forum? Yes, go ahead.
I just want to make an announcement to the Maverick Adventurers. We had a great turnout for our high class Friday, so that was very successful. So thank you for letting me do that for your constituents. Again, we're slated to do a caving program April the 13th, and I'm currently looking at more options for programming this semester. I'm not promising anything, but I've got some things in the works that I'm hopeful that might be able to come about. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Any questions? Anybody? Seeing none, thank you so much. Anyone else for open forum? Anyone else? Okay, seeing no more open forum, we'll now move into the consent agenda. One change with the agenda, if you look under Senator reports, Senator Mitchell's will be moved to next week, so she will not be reporting today. Senator Roebuck?
Senator Roebuck to April 15th.
Is there, yeah. And then also remove Senator Roebuck. Is there any other dissent to the consent agenda? Sorry. Any dissent? Seeing none, the consent agenda is now passed. We will begin with officer reports. President Cronin.
Thank you, Speaker Zalmer. So just some things. Delegates is this weekend, so for those of you attending, we should have received communication from our campus coordinator about our departure on Friday, as well as you should be receiving communication from Students United as a whole through your email regarding just elections that are upcoming and like different things. So if you haven't been getting those, let me know because you should have used your email to sign up for the delegates and then receive that. Some important things to think about for those who are attending as well as those who are not attending. This weekend is the election of our exec team for Students United for next year. So for those of you attending, I would start thinking about questions and things that you think would be really important for the candidates to keep in mind and what you would think would make a good candidate. And for those of you not attending, if there are questions or like things that you think as a delegation we should look for in a candidate, please let me know and then I can pass it along to the delegation so when we are voting, we can know that this would be someone that Mankato would be comfortable with leading us. As well as this is the delegates that we work a lot more on our platform and pass those motions, whereas in our fall delegates, we focus more on our legislative platform, federal and state. This is the delegates where we talk more about student initiatives and platforms, things related to like campus life. So for example, back in fall, we wanted to present those motions regarding international student health care, student housing and food security, as well as online course fees, but those were postponed to this delegates because they didn't align with what they were looking for those motions to be passed. So those ones will be brought up this time around, but if there are other things that you think would be good to put in place in the Students United platform, start thinking about that. But I also encourage you to look at the current platform because that was a huge issue with the fall delegates, was a lot of things that were passed by the delegation were already in our platform. Our platform is 11 pages long, so it's a lot to go through. But this time around, we want to make sure that we're being effective with our time and not, spending a lot of time on discussion and stuff just for it to reach the board and the board decide that we don't want the platform to be redundant. So if there are things that you think Students United should put into their platform, I would encourage you to take a look first. And even if you're not attending, delegates, like I said, passing along those ideas and questions to me or anyone else attending, so that way your voice is still represented up in Brainerd, Minnesota this weekend. Next, I'm still looking for someone to serve on the Recruitment and Retention Advisor Search Committee through the Office of OASIS. So that search committee is hoping to get started very soon because they want to have the position filled by July 1st. So if that's something you're interested in, please let me know because we do need a student to serve on that so that way the student voices are heard. Tomorrow is our April meet and confer, so I'm going to pass around the sheet that I passed around last week. If there is changes that need to be made that you aren't able to attend, just cross your name off just so I can double check who's all will be there. Regarding the banquet for the student government banquet, I know I sent out that wonderful doodle that so many of you filled out, which was fantastic. Unfortunately, the dates that were selected, there's not anything available in the campus for us to hold it, like the Heritage Room and other rooms in the CSU and on campus are all booked. So I will be sending a secondary form. The dates that we're looking at now are Monday, April 22nd and Tuesday, April 23rd. And we've already confirmed with scheduling that there would be rooms available on those days. So you'll get that email from me tonight, and please fill that out as soon as possible so that way you all will be able to know which days. And again, just for a time frame, it would be around 5:30. So that way if you have a night class at 6 o'clock, you will still be able to attend the first half. If you have a class that runs a little bit later into the afternoon, the banquet isn't going to end. We're going to have a great time. And then finally, next Tuesday, as I'm sure all of you are aware, is the general election and the referendum vote. Today was the open forum on the referendum and the president and vice presidential debates. So please especially encourage people to vote regardless for, their representatives, because that's how we all got to this table, was having our students vote for us, but also for that referendum because it does require 10% of students for it to be even considered valid. So even if, it was 100% people all said yes, but only 9% of students voted, it would still result in us using our backup budget. So we do need 10% of students to vote in the election, whether it be yes or no, and then whatever that outturn is, that's up for them to decide. But please make sure that you're telling your constituents, your friends, your classmates, anyone you know on campus to vote that day because it's really important that their voices are heard. So that way the people sitting around this table reflect our student body. And with that, I yield for questions.
Any questions, Senator Whiteside?
Do you know what time the committee, if they had yet planned to do the recruitment and retention, the committee, have they fixed the time yet? Do you know?
I don't know anything about dates or meeting times or stuff, but just in terms of the way search committees work, a lot of the times you're sent the materials prior to those meetings, you review them all, and then you would meet to decide. And I know experience I've had with search committees that I've served at. In the event that I'm not able to attend that meeting where we discuss things, I send my notes, and then they're still able to be heard around the table, even if you're not there physically.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Seeing no more questions, thank you. Vice President Omar, your update.
Last week, I attended the City University meeting with Senator Barton, where she brought up the off-campus housing issue. In that meeting, they gave us an update on the High-V project that they're currently working on. They will start construction this month, and it should be completed by the beginning of the school year next year, hopefully. They're also building a 10-foot sidewalk that will be connecting Summit to the university. Summit to the university, I believe. And then they have census coming up soon, and documenting that and looking for increase in population. And lastly, I've been contacted by members from College Democrats. They are going to lobby at the Capitol with the ACLU, and they wanted me to let you guys know there are opportunities open if you guys are interested. They'll be lobbying about civil liberty issues, meeting with representatives. It's from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. April 10th next Wednesday. And Rise next week will be provided for, so if you're interested, contact me about that. And with that.
Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Vice President Omar. My update, we have a Dean of the Day here with us today. If they could stand to be recognized. They're here. Okay, and then there was one change to my office hours. I realized that I have a prior commitment at 5 p.m. on Mondays. So my Monday office hours will instead be in the morning. For some reason, I'm blanking on them specifically, but I do believe they're around like 11 to 12:30. And then if there's any questions about what my office hours are, my office is normally unlocked. So if you want to turn in your office hours, which are due next week, by the way, I have access to the Engage page now. So if you would prefer to put them on online, you can do that. Or else if you want to do them by paper, the forms are in my mailbox in the office. Are there any questions, concerns? No? Cool. Okay, well, we will now be moving into Senator reports. Senator Faith?
Hi. As many of you know, as she just said as well, I'm Senator Biggs, and I represent the College of Allied Health and Nursing along with a few other senators. Today, I'll be talking about the issue I mentioned in my vacancy speech. If you can remember back that far, I wanted to learn more about the College of Allied Health and Nursing and bring light to the different majors offered, except obviously along with nursing, but promote those other majors as well and find out how we can do that. So in this process, I met with Katie Hodgson, who's an advisor within the College of Allied Health and Nursing, and we had a really good conversation. Obviously, she's an advisor, but she also deals with orientation and helping students plan their schedule and find a major that's right for them, whether it be in the College of Allied Health and Nursing or sending them to someone in another college if they decide to change. We talked about the stigma that comes along with students who think that they need to know what their major is coming in right away to college, which affects a lot of students, so they just pick a major because they need to know their path. So we discussed about that and how 70% of students actually change their majors, and that it's important that we let students know that it's okay to change their major and allow them the resources and opportunities to figure out what their true calling is. Because so many students come into the College of Allied Health and Nursing and choose nursing because they want to help people, but there are so many other opportunities within the College of Allied Health and Nursing and other colleges to help people. So it's about finding out how they want to help people. Some improvements we talked about is I'm hopefully going to be meeting with the Career Development Center and learning more about the assessments that they offer and promoting those more to students. Hopefully, ideally, I would like to promote them to students at orientation, or not orientation, welcome week. So maybe talking to welcome week staff or finding out what their schedule is like and giving students an opportunity to go to the Career Development Center if they're feeling uneasy about their major right away. So they can already dive right in right away. So they don't get to their junior year and they're like, dang, this is not for me. Some other things. She talked about implementing small programs just to educate students on the variety of majors, and how we would do that is opening communication between the majors. She feels like maybe the deans and advisors aren't necessarily talking about the similarities between the majors and how I guess I don't know where I'm going with that, but like open communication between the majors so that they know that they can transfer between, because a lot of the classes do transfer in between majors. So that's something as well. That's really all I have. I kind of tried to sum it up. It might be a little confusing, so if you want to know more or talk more about it, you can let me know. I yield.
Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Senator Biggs. Senator Adedeji?
Hi everyone. My name is Charles Again. I'm the College of Business Senator. First, this is going to be my last report, so I want to appreciate everyone in this room for their hard work and commitment. This is the time for reflection and thinking about what our legacy is going to be, as John has been asking for the past 2 weeks. And throughout my term as Senator, I've done a lot of events, tabling, surveys, exchange with student leaders and faculty leaders in my constituency, and that's all to create better learning experience for the students in the college. But moving forward, I and my other College of Business Senator are focusing all our attention on creating a chapter of NABA in MSU Mankato. This has been a difficult one for us because of recruitment and the numbers that NABA wanted for us to create a chapter in MSU Mankato. But we're coordinating with Multicultural Center and the Latino students, all OASIS, these offices, to make sure that we get enough diversity into the NABA and bring in a lot of students. Also, one thing I'm focusing my attention on is the LinkedIn learning. I don't know if anybody knows about LinkedIn learning on this one. Lynda.com. It's probably on your D2L, but you probably don't know it. These are resources that the university pays for a lot of students to use it. I'm the LinkedIn Learning Student Ambassador for MSU Mankato, and I've coordinated with the Career Development Center to see how much of students are using these resources and to see how much of impact it has had on students. And even them don't have the numbers for it. So I've tried to tailor some programs to students in the College of Business. But this, I believe, is a really big project and cannot be done by one senator, or cannot be done by one ambassador. So I'm thinking of tabling this to the Academic Affairs Committee and try to create the pathway to make sure that students are using these resources, so that, because LinkedIn, the LinkedIn.com, it not only creates that environment where you can, outside the classroom learning, but it teaches you hard skills. Like, what I'm trying to create right now is a tailored program for marketing students for the College of Business, HTML5, Python, that kind of stuff. These things that you're supposed to learn, but you don't really learn them in class. But the school provides it for you to learn, get out of your comfort zone. If you're interested in something other than what you're going to school for, other than what your degree is major in, you can learn it from these resources. But students don't use it, and we want to create that awareness. And so I'll be focusing my attention on that, creation of NABA, and that's what I want to be my legacy. That's what I want to really focus on, because I believe it's something that I'm going to be working on even after my term as a senator. And as I said, this is my last senator report. I thank you all for all your hard work, commitment. I believe for those that are going to be coming back, you have a lot of stuff to do, more impact to make. For those that this is going to be their last time on the Senate, thank you.
Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Senator Hoysa.
Hi, everyone. So I think that talking about our legacies and everything like that, it's really important to recognize that one of the most important parts of being a senator, and I think an aspect of being a senator where you can really push a lot of things you want to do, is serving on the different committees that we serve on. I think it's great to be like, yes, I alone, Senator Hoysa, want to ask for XYZ to get done, and XYZ will get done. That's a lot harder. It's a big school. There's a lot of things that come into, making big change. But committees, especially committees where pro staff are already serving on, that ask ask for the advice and advising for students, it's really an area that we as student senators can make a difference. So one of the committees that I'm serving on right now is the advising committee. So it's the undergraduate, University Undergraduate Advising Center. It's currently something we don't have. Advising right now is left up to every college. And they're trying to make it an undergraduate advising center, which will be in the basement of the library. You've seen the beautiful sign while you pass in there. And it'll be started by Sarah G.R. If you know her, she used to work for Student Senate Programming. And I've been serving on that committee with a lot of really interesting people who work in both student affairs and academic affairs, and learning about what is going into the new advising model at the Undergraduate Advising Center, and trying to provide a student perspective, because at the end of the day, we're the ones who are using the product that they're doing. The funniest thing is I love when hearing people talk about like that Starfish platform, what's it called, Math Connect. And like they're talking all about like, oh, you can do this Math Connect. My advisor, I've never heard the word Math Connect out of his mouth. So like trying to help them understand like what programs they're saying should be done and what's actually getting done and like, what is happening with students on the ground, I think is a really important thing when we show up into rooms and what we hear. Especially, you know, those of us who live in Red Solid residential life advisors, we hear things when we were living with all those students and trying to relay that back up to the people who are making decisions on that. So I'm trying to help. I go to those meetings twice a month and try and provide the student perspective on that. If you're really passionate about advising, let me know. So the new advising model, we're talking a lot about like what is it going to be doing, and it's really going to be trying to flag at-risk students who we see with the data have low retention rates and high dropout rates. Those are students of color, first-gen students, Pell Grant eligible students, anything like that, to make sure that the advisors are aware, and something called like an intensive advising, as opposed to like you have to set up an appointment. If you don't talk to your advisor, they're never going to talk to you. For these students, having the advisors reach out to them, check in on them, let them know that they're a resource for them, I think that that'll be a really powerful point for the center. One of the problems about the center, though, with that idea in mind, there are a lot of organizations on campus that already do that. Oasis, Multicultural Center, there's a lot of places that are already reaching out. So making sure we streamline that process so that a student who is already struggling doesn't have to go to 15 meetings to try and register for their classes, try to streamline that and hopefully make it advising better at our school, which is definitely something that can be improved upon to increase our retention rate. So that's what I've been working on with that, on top of the counseling center stuff I talked about in my last report. And then also, if you're in the Student Affairs Committee, I talked about my dedication to try and help the LGBT students and students of sexual and gender minorities on campus. So we're going to, there's Outfront Minnesota is an organization that lobbies for LGBT rights in Minnesota, and they are lobbying, they have a lobby day every year at the Capitol. And it's this year, it's Thursday, April 25th. I have a group of students who are currently getting a bus to take us to the Capitol on that day. So if you're interested, if it's something you're really passionate about, LGBT rights, come talk to me after this meeting. We can figure out how to get there. It's super important that Mankato is represented there. You know, obviously, like the Twin Cities and very urban areas that have these populations well represented and well talked about, they're constantly showing up to these things. It's right there. But having someone from a more rural area, a place that went red, where U.S. representatives need to show up and talk about LGBT rights is really, really powerful. Have our voices heard by our representatives. So if you're interested in that, you can let me know. Thank you. Are there any questions? Any questions that are one?
On that committee, have you brought up any issues about like high failure classes and like flagging those students that are in like classes that oftentimes have like a 50% failure rate?
Yes, okay, definitely, and especially we've been talking about like what Senator Biggs said, increasing like communication between colleges and that. So like especially classes in STEM where people realize that they don't want to do it anymore. Anatomy, chem, those classes that are really, really hard. When we see someone, instead of like at the end, you already failed it, now what are you going to do? Instead of trying to catch it when there's those D or Fs that are happening halfway through the semester, flagging them already, meeting them with, having them meet with their advisor. Do you actually want to be in the nursing program? Do you actually want to be a doctor with your D in anatomy? And trying to make sure that those can be streamlined and have those conversations more openly. But like obviously, like a nursing advisor doesn't know what it takes for the person to get in the elementary ed program. So trying to make sure that we increase the communication between people when they change majors because of those classes. So great question.
Awesome. Are there any more questions? Any more questions? Any more questions? And then thank you, Senator. Senator Dahl.
Yeah, for my report, as an off-campus center and also as representative student athletes, the one thing that I've been trying to figure out, one of my goals, has been to try and market the athletics more for the students to see what we really do, and also let the community know what we do. I recently talked to Brian from IT, and he basically told me that's more of an athletics thing. I was told by our SIDs that it was actually more of university, not lacking having a video program and be able to do like graphic design for us. In reality, it's athletics being able to provide that stuff, and I was misinformed about that. So I'm going to be on athletics, but about making that happen. Recently, they just had a big hockey tournament, and they've been really busy, so I haven't had time to talk to them about that. But second thing, I'm working on a tailgating procedure for having during the home games of the football season, to have students be able to come and have events and hopefully have a fun time before about 2 to 3 hours before the football game or an hour after. And then also working on trying to get the herd, which is like the I can't even think of what they are. They're like the fan club. I can't even think of the proper term. I'm sorry. Trying to get them to try and reach out to students more, trying to get them to go to more events, not just athletics, but just events in general. Like the herd represents the entire school. The fourth thing is Mavs Got Talent on April 22nd. Me and Student Athletic Advisory Committee and also Greek Life, we're doing a talent show for all students, all staff, anyone that basically has MSU on their nameplate. They can come and do talent of any kind. First place is, I believe, $250. Second place is $150 or $100, and then third place is $50. So that's it, April 22nd in Ostrander from 6 to 8. And then lastly, for the Student Athletic Advisory Committee, what we're working on is It's On Us, which is a sexual awareness basically day for our conference in 16 teams in the MSSA. So essentially, we're going to have a bunch of athletes tabling in Myers or in the CSU. We want obviously particularly athletes to show that, hey, this is a big deal, but we also want students to come and do sign a petition to be against sexual assault. So, yeah, you have questions.
Senator Big?
With the herd, I guess my question is just how you're planning to make that inclusive and welcoming to all students, because I guess when I went to the football games and everybody there, like, it's a lot of other student athletes, and they kind of seem to, like, group up, I guess. So that's just, like, one concern, I guess, that I have, and making that welcoming for not just student athletes and welcoming everyone from different areas of campus.
We have noticed that. We've noticed that almost every event with the herd is just student athletes. That's something that we want to change. We tried partnering with Greek Life, and we still are, but maybe handing that over to Greek Life and trying to get them to maybe, boost that and trying to get the students' attention. Us in the Student Athletic Advisory Committee is open to any suggestions of any clubs that are willing to, really take on this herd thing. Obviously, yes, it's a student athlete thing, particularly, but in reality, it's really not. I believe that, one of the big things is there's track athletes that come to every single event, and that's about it. And I think it should be, students. And obviously, one thing that we also touched on is, how are we going to get other people to come to our events if we don't go to them? You know what I mean? Like, what if, there's a softball game going on right now. How many football players are there? That's something we got to work on as well. But I think trying to get, other students is, like I said, trying to get, other clubs and organizations to start doing that. But then also, we need a little bit more of this to try and get people to come. We're trying to get, some T-shirts, maybe some hats, some, any pins or anything that says, like, I'm the herd, we're the fan base, whatever it may be. So we're trying to recruit, in reality, we're kind of a non-existent. We had a big club, but then it kind of died off, so now we're trying to resurrect it. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Any more questions? Questions? Thank you, Senator. Senator Albright.
Okay. So hello everyone. I'm Senator Albright from Westwood. If you recall from my last Senator report, I have been working to improve postal services on campus, so specifically students sending outgoing mail. Initially, I was hoping to expand the services that were offered, but after doing research and talking to various people, I decided that the problem or the issue is more in the students knowing about what services are already offered. As a student, I've lived on campus for 3 years, and I've always wondered how to send mail or a package outgoing, and I never got a clear answer. But through my work here, I can now provide a clear answer. Hopefully, if you look into my report, you can too. So here's what you need to know. To mail a letter, it has to be stamped. Some people don't know that. But then you can bring it to the USPS drop boxes in either the Crawford or McElroy residence community box. USPS comes by daily to pick up those letters. If you don't have a stamp, I found out that they do sell stamps on campus at the coffee shops and also at the Barnes & Noble bookstore. If you would like to mail a package, there was some confusion about what the Postal Service's office at Whitney Center does. And if you have a package that has a prepaid label, you can bring that to them and they will ship it for you. Usually packages will only come with prepaid labels if you are returning something or selling something on a third-party website. But I actually found out that if you don't get one of those prepaid labels, you can go to the USPS website, and through their click and ship service, you can put it in the dimensions of your box or package and the weight and pay online, print it out, and then there you go. You don't have to leave campus, then bring it to Whitney and they'll send it off for you. If you don't want to mess around with that online service, there are at least two post offices in Mankato, one near Madison Ave and then one downtown. And there's actually through bus route 7 that goes downtown. Students can go from campus very close to the post office. So, obviously, those services are more accessible than I thought they were initially. So then my goal was to get students knowing that information because it was clear that they didn't have that information. So I met with Robin Whalen, who's the Assistant Director of Safety and Services, to get a plan to get this information out. I pulled this from a community front desk. This is the information regarding outgoing mailing services, and reporting says last updated 2014. So one of the things I did was I made this new flyer. And we're working with Robin. These will be distributed to every SSC, Student Success Coordinator, this week, hopefully, to get put up at front desk. I also spoke with Robin. She will be putting these, or working with Resline to put these in the weekly newsletter that Resline sends out, and also giving that information on the webpage of Resline. And then I also plan to talk to Tammy Tricka in the Postal Services office to get this information on the Postal Services site as well. Additionally, Robin Whalen, who I mentioned, works with the training of Student Success Coordinators every year who run those community front desks. And she's going to be also implementing this information into their training each year because they previously had no idea that these services existed, and I think that's important for front desk workers to have the knowledge of. So yeah, that's what I've done. Moving forward, there are other things to consider. Right now, like I said, those letter drop boxes are just in Crawford and McElroy. Maybe in the next session, Resline senators or whoever will consider working with postal services to get those moved to a more central location on campus. So students from Julius Ayres, Prescott, or any student not living in the rest halls have more central locations to drop those letters off. With that.
Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? No? Okay, thank you. Because we're going to get time in at the end. So with that, we'll be moving into old business. So if you guys remember last week, we tabled the bylaw amendment about the Maverick textbook reserve, and the amendment from Vice President Omar did pass. So this is the updated version with that amendment. So if you guys, I hope you guys all took time to look over it. Just a few things before we start talking about amendments. Just remember, I will cut you off after, I will not allow you to speak any more times after you've spoken 3 times. Also, if it's getting very repetitive, I will make a comment that we're getting very repetitive. And so if you just want to echo things, maybe snap, or if multiple people have echoed it, we get the point that many people have the same opinion. So with that, we will move into discussion on this amendment. Vice President Omar or President Cronin, would you guys like to speak on what the amendment entails that you guys passed?
Yes, I can. We had this discussion last week regarding the kind of layout, what we thought would be most successful for somebody to serve with this textbook reserve program, and then editing the amendment just because last week it included all the other things have it passed as a coordinator also includes the creation of a subcommittee. So that way, this individual who will be responsible for being, that contact point for the textbook reserve program will have people to rely on and people that, they can go to for aid, so they're not solely alone. And so you can see on the agenda, it kind of lists out who those individuals are. So there's that liaison that will serve on academic affairs and kind of be that go-to point between their subcommittee and the academic affairs committee as well as Senate. And then furthermore, the 2 representatives from student affairs, 4 members of the student members, the manager of the bookstore, and then a staff member. And so, as well, after speaking with Senator Erickson, they have already confirmed the 2 staff positions are more than happy to be a part of this. So with that, it just, allows that person not to be doing all the work on their own, and that they have that laid out support that's been built into the structure, so they are able to do as much work as they can.
Before we move into discussion, are there any questions for President Cronin about her amendment? Any questions? Senator Landis.
So I'm just to clarify, the word passed has been used a couple of times. Is this passed or is this proposed?
This is proposed. So what I meant by passed is last week we passed the amendment for it to make it a liaison. That motion was proposed by Vice President Omar, and that was passed by a vote to the Senate. So this is now the proposed motion, if that makes sense. Is everyone on the same page with that? Cool. Any more questions for President Cronin? Seeing none, I'll open up. Oh, Mr. Collins.
We were just talking back here. In terms of jurisdiction, is it going to be the Student Affairs Commission or committee, or is it going to be the Bookstore Advisory Committee? Which one is going to have jurisdiction of this program? Because the way it's written here, you could flip a coin and be right. Right now it has jurisdiction in 2 camps. You need to have it in 1 camp.
It meant to be the Academic Affairs Committee. Sorry, when I was typing it up, it was right before it had to go out. So if it says Student Affairs anywhere in it, it's meant to be Academic Affairs.
How about Bookstore Advisory Committee is also mentioned?
There's just members of the Bookstore Advisory Committee in this subcommittee. Does that make sense? Okay, are there any questions on that specifically? No? Oh, okay, so we'll open up discussion. Senator Erickson.
No, sorry.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Because it says that it is housed within the jurisdiction of the Bookstore Advisory Committee. Is that?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I forgot to change that. So, do we want it? We're going to change it to Academic Affairs. I apologize. It was a bit of a communication mishap. I apologize for that. So it is under Academic Affairs, not Bookstore Advisory or Student Affairs. Are there any other questions on that? No? Okay, awesome. We will now open up discussion on it. Senator Erickson.
Okay. I'd like to make an amendment that Mimi did discuss. It's just that this is the formal way that we have to go through it by just changing the student liaison to a student subcommittee chair. I'll be passing these around and I'll show the changes and what it would look like. Anywhere though where it does say student liaison, it would be the chair. Yeah.
Senator Rodinez.
So you're proposing the chair, so what are you proposing the differences between the names of the chair and the lead date?
Just changing the name. So that it's because it is a subcommittee to make it like all the rest of the subcommittees with the chair.
Okay.
John?
Is that chair still then, if you're changing student liaison under that bullet point number 1, so 2.1 down there, is that chair still appointed by the academic affairs coordinator?
2.1. It's, no, student body president. Appointed by student body president.
Okay, are there any other questions for Senator Erickson on your amendment? Any other questions? Senator Moy?
I just want to verify that 2.1 would now be one student subcommittee
coming around.
But then I will point out that underneath, yeah, there's in number 3 does say student liaison that is going to be changed to the chair though.
Are there any other questions for Senator Erickson? Okay. So is there any discussion on this amendment now? Any discussion? Any discussion? The speaker's list is closing. Okay, seeing no discussion, we will now vote on this amendment. If you are in favor of adding the Senator Erickson's amendment to this proposed bylaw change, please raise your placard. Okay, seeing unanimous consent, that amendment will pass. Now we will be voting on passing it as a whole to add it to the Constitution. Is there any dissent to passing it as a whole to add it to the Constitution? Or to the bylaws? I apologize. Is there any dissent? Oh, do you have a question? Okay.
So just the typo that's here, will that be changed before?
Yeah, I will change that in speaker's correspondence and whatnot for when it gets added. Is there any dissent? Any dissent? Any dissent? Seeing no dissent, this is passed. Good job, you guys. Okay, so now moving into new business, we have a new bylaw amendment that has been put forth by Senator Landis, and I will now give the floor to him to speak on this amendment.
Make sure the left turn over. What happened to?
I just used that one right there.
Then I'm behind people. All right. Good afternoon. So this proposed committee would be a standing committee of the student government. And it is titled the Committee on Student Basic Needs. The reason for that is that anyone here is familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It starts with a foundation, and that foundation is things like shelter and housing, and this is the worst time for this phone to go off, I apologize. So, it's fine. So, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Food, shelter are foundational things. When here at an institution of higher education, we're achieving or attempting to achieve goals of community, of self-actualization. Without that foundation, we cannot hope to have those higher level goals. To give a little bit of history, this committee proposal is the organic, natural next step in a progression that's been going on for many years here. For years, individuals and offices have pursued a variety of mitigation initiatives such as Campus Kitchen, Campus Cupboard, an emergency grant program, SNAP representatives in first-year experience classes, and the list goes on. In spring 2018, a study was done by undergraduate and graduate students in a class, Sociology in Action, that bore out that 64% of our campus population suffers or is experiencing some form of food insecurity. That study catalyzed meetings with university administration, new awareness campaigns, and the convening of an unofficial ad hoc committee attempting to organize in the way that this committee would. What we know about food insecurity as it manifests itself here and on campuses nationwide is that there are strong correlations with other issues such as housing instability, difficulty obtaining Medicare, etc. Therefore, the establishment of this Committee on Student Basic Needs should encourage student leadership on these issues while coordinating with the people and offices on and off campus, because we do have community partners who are also involved with this, which have and will continue to do vital work to address students' basic needs. I stand for questions.
Are there any questions for Senator Landis on this amendment?
Actually, quickly. point, I did have a minor edit as well. I forgot to mention. I did get in touch with the Faculty Association president, who informed me that under subsection B, number 2, that the Faculty Association president does not actually appoint people. That is the purview of the Faculty Association Executive Committee, and so it's just a very minor edit there, changing Faculty Association president to Faculty Association Executive Committee.
I think this may be a typo, but if you're doing some edits, in subsection A, you talk about promoting resources for food secure and housing unstable students. I don't think we have unstable students.
Unstable.
Unstable students?
Yes, that is a typo. Be unstable.
Unstable housing or unstable students?
It's just a term that's used. Food insecurity, housing instability are like the common. Yes, housing instability.
John?
Just from a process standpoint, in order for this to be considered an actual motion, it'll require that second.
Yeah. Yeah. So once we're done with perfect, President Cronin seconds it. So are there any questions for Bill? This will help flow through discussion. So if you guys have any major questions on it that you want to bring up in discussion, now is the time to ask that. Senator,
I have questions today. I have 2 questions. What do you know what organizations on campus are there any clubs, like besides Campus Kitchen, that are currently working on this issue that we can like harness their power for this? And my second question is, can you give me an example of a solution-oriented project?
Yeah, great. So several organizations, I think we mentioned this last week as well. Student Dietetics and Nutrition Organization and the Community Engagement Office also has a number of students who are actively involved with projects of this nature. Let's see, off the top of my head, I know there are more.
Can I offer up something from the floor? One of the students that they're working with closely has just recently developed a bingo, sort of like if you're familiar with Health Pros kind of people. It's like a bingo on food insecurity with some of the responses being local and campus-based assistance. And that will be like a unit that will be available to anybody who wants to use it in the classroom.
And then did you have a second part of that?
Yes. In the last section of Solution A, it says solution-oriented projects. I was wondering if you have any examples.
Yep. So examples of past projects and ongoing projects can include things like staffing, having volunteer staff in the campus covered, doing new initiatives such as like we did this semester with the free farmers market on campus. But in addition, there could be some bigger programs. Currently, there's a vice president, associate president of the foundation. William Broussard. I forget what his title is exactly. Maybe someone in the gallery.
Associate Vice President.
Thank you very much. Who has been in touch with people in the Swipe Out Hunger program. And so there have been faculty that have asked about Swipe Out Hunger. There have been students. And so this is, that is a program that has some national different campuses that have already established things like that. And we're looking at solutions that could be implemented here like that program. Yeah.
Senator White?
Just on behalf of thanking Senator White's staff for the organization that Senator Landis was talking about, they have to have 7 hours of volunteer activities, which is why we've been so highly involved in that. So in relation to club being involved, that's why SUNO has been so highly involved, and they will next year because that doesn't change. They have to have 7 hours per semester per student. So
work with that campus kitchen to work with this issue.
To be on SUNO. So all the students that are in that club have to have 7 hours of nutrition-related volunteer experience. So that is a good resource, and that's why he brought that up, because they have to be that involved.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you, Senator Landis. I will now open up the floor for discussion on this motion. Is there any discussion? The speakers list is now open. Senator Hudson.
I think this is a great idea because I think this is an issue that we like are struggling with the university. I remember Senator Landis's Senator report when he had that report talking about that number and just being like shocked to understand that it was an issue that I think our community is facing, and so it's an issue that we should address, and that's what student government should do. And then I think that the creation of a committee not only will show our dedication to that, but also shows like to administration that it is something that we as the students really care about, which I think is a wonderful, wonderful thing to help the students at our university who are struggling with our most basic and important needs. So I hope that you vote for it.
Thanks for that. Okay. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Speakers list is closing. Remember, this is a bylaw change. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will now move into a vote on this motion. If you are in favor of passing this motion, John, sorry.
This would constitute the first read. It has to be tabled until next week.
It has to be tabled until next week?
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, so we will vote on it next week. So, cool. Thank you, guys. Now moving away from that, we will announce vacancy elections. So we have decided that we will be holding vacancy elections for the College of Arts and Humanities Senator as well as the Residential Ed Senator, because in the Constitution it states that 2 weeks after announcing the vacancy, there needs to be an election. And since there is one full meeting left after that election, we want there to be an opportunity for someone to represent the constituency at that full meeting. However, there is a new vacancy with the off-campus senator. We will not be holding a vacancy election for that because they would have their vacancy election, sit down in the seat, and then no longer be a senator. So we are not going to be holding an election for that. But for the first two, those will be next week. Moving away from that, are there any announcements? Any announcements? Any announcements, Senator Landis?
This weekend, Sunday, we have the Whippersnapper climbing competition at our rock wall, and I encourage anyone who wants to attend to sign up. Registration's online. We have beginner, intermediate, advanced, and open divisions, so if you've never touched the rock wall before, you can still compete. If you don't want to compete, I do encourage you to come by. 5:30 or so is when we're going to start finals and see some really advanced climbers from around the surrounding states, and here in Mankato, just want to see them.
Thank you, John.
A couple of announcements. We currently are, Emmy serves in the interim role for the Assistant Director of RSO's Non-Traditional Students and Leadership, and I'm the chair of the search committee that's searching for the person who will fill that role on a permanent basis. And so we are in the middle of having finalists visit, and I've shared this with student government leadership, but there are open sessions with candidates who will be here on Friday. There's one at 2:30 on Friday in room 204, and there's one at 2:30 on this coming Tuesday in room 203 of the Centennial Student Union if you're interested in visiting with those candidates. So we hope to be able to move on that position very, very soon. So that's that hat. And then in the fraternity and sorority life world, I want to let everybody know next week is Greek Week on campus, and there are some major events coming up. On Monday, the students will be there's an open community cookout. I'm going to give away about 560 hot dogs, chips, and drinks to anybody on campus who happens to stop by starting at 11 until the stuff is gone. So that will be outside on the mall. As of right now, it looks like Monday is the only day that the weather's not going to be crap, so that should be good to go. So if it's not on the mall, you'll find us in the Hearth Lounge. That's, again, open to anybody and everybody on campus who happens to stop by. Tuesday night is the annual cardboard boat regatta, so the students will be rowing boats across the pool over in the Highland Center with boats that are made of nothing but cardboard and duct tape. So that's always entertaining. Wednesday, there's a clothing drive on the CSU Mall. If you have anything you need to get rid of, feel free to bring that by. Thursday night, the ever-popular lip sync will take place in the auditorium at 7 o'clock. And then Friday, they've got it's a Game of Thrones themed week, so they've got the musical Thrones that's taking place. So, and then the annual awards banquet, which is more of a private event, will take place on Sunday. So lots of stuff going on. But the highlights that we would open and invite anybody to would be the cookout on Monday, the regatta, the clothing drive, lip sync. So those are big ones.
Just a question on the clothing drive, John. Is there specific times on that?
11 o'clock in the morning until about 1 o'clock is when they're closing out.
Okay,
and it's on the mall. Yep.
Yesterday we had a tailgate. I would like to thank you, all the senators who helped me. It was successful. People, students, they believed their thought and what they want from student government.
Thank you. Are there any other announcements? Mike?
Just want to remind folks the International Festival is this Sunday, 11 o'clock to 3. It's always a great thing if people have gone to it before, and you'll also say there some great student groups there that are selling some of their food from their different countries, some great entertainment, and we always have a good time with it all. So if you get an opportunity to come by, we'd like to see you on Sunday.
Thank you. Are there any other announcements under the DG?
If anybody is interested in the Angel Learning and wants to join the academic affairs committee, tonight.
Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Any other announcements? Seeing none, we'll now do roll call real quick. Senator Biggs. Present. Senator Erickson. Here. Senator Moy. Proxy. Senator Schmidt. Here. Senator Adediji. Senator Wosu. Here. Senator Andrade Lara. Senator Bejarano. Here. Senator Landis. Here. Senator Nowinski. Here. Senator Brighty. Here. Senator Stilwell. Senator O'Caro. Yes. Senator Christensen. Oh, here. Senator Kintan. Here. Senator Pospisil. Here. Senator Chaiti. Here. Senator Shajal. Here. Senator Dahl. Here. Senator Garton. Here. Senator Sampson. Here. Senator Moeen. Here. Senator Mitchell. Here. Senator Whiteside. Here. Senator Roebuck. Here. Senator Albright. Here. Senator Medina. Here. President Cronin and Vice President Omar. Thank you guys all. We will now adjourn. See you guys next week.